Welcome to Newbie Sports. Another week is underway. I'm making this video a little later than I anticipated, actually after one of my predictions. So we'll get to that prediction later, but I'm already incorrect on at least one. But starting off, the BYU Cougars won the Holy War. Yeah! All of us Cougar fans are pretty excited about that. 7-0 now on the season. And marching down the beginning of our very difficult game stretch, but we'll get to that later on in the episode. So BYU has won the Holy War. I was not right on the score, but I was right on the victory. BYU won. I was not right on the score. It ended up being 24-21. I thought it was going to be 31-20. I will say that if Utah had kicked both of those field goals, it probably would have been closer to 31-20 than 24-21. But hey, there's that. But anyways, getting underway, that was a very fun game. I didn't get to watch all of it. I just got to watch bits and pieces of it because I had prior obligations. But that was a great game. That was a great game. I did see Bachmeier's touchdown into the end zone. There's a bear loose in Provo. That phrase is gonna live on in Cougar lore forever. And if we're all being honest, that's when the game was won. That's when the Cougars won this game. Even if Utah recovered that onside kick, Utah is just not built for games that score quickly. Utah is built to get ahead of you as soon as possible and prevent you from getting ahead of them and draining out the clock. That's what Utah has done to win most of the games in this rivalry, at least. Those are the games that I paid most attention to with Utah, but that's how Utah wins a lot of their games, is they get ahead of you and then they prevent you from getting ahead of them. So when that doesn't happen, it's more difficult for Utah to come back. They were not built for a 2-minute drill in that situation. And as far as the reffing goes, if you're complaining about the refs, you're on the losing side of the game. That's just how things go. And Cougar fans are very aware of that concept. There have been many a game where we felt like we have been robbed by the referees, but a win still gets marked in the column for Utah, even in those cases. So if you were complaining about the refs, I'm sorry, but I also have no sorries for you. I have been in your position, and this is just part of sports. The one thing about this game I do want to emphasize, though, going for it on fourth down has become a very weird thing to me. The analytics say go for it. The analytics say go for the fourth down conversion. I haven't seen this play out in reality. Utah should have kicked both of those field goals in the red zone. I think that the score differential would have been larger had they done that, but I was listening to a local radio station, and Hans Olsen used to play for BYU, said it really well. As a defensive lineman, as a defensive player, there's nothing that generates more momentum for your defense and for your team than stopping people in fourth downs. Not even turnovers. Not even interceptions or fumble recoveries. He said that stopping a team on fourth down is the biggest thing you can do for your team's morale. So I gotta disagree with a lot of the analytics takes on you gotta go for it. You gotta go for it. No, you gotta get the points. I think that whole concept cost Georgia possibly the game against Alabama earlier. They were down by 3. They should have gone for the field goal instead of going for the conversion, and they didn't get it, and then they lost by 3 instead of trying to take it to overtime. Anyways, that's my little harp on fourth down conversions. I've also heard that this is the biggest holy war ever. No, it's not. No, it's not. That's recency bias coming in, and I'm glad that the BYU fan base is very excited about this. It's not the biggest holy war ever. It's not even the biggest holy war in the last 2 years. Because last year, we were going into Rice Eccles Stadium 8-0, and we came out 9-0 with a really, really, really solid position going into the playoffs. Now, we all know what happened with Kansas. Our really solid position fell apart really quickly, but that was a more significant holy war than this holy war. One, because we were 8-0, and the only real significant game we had on our schedule was Arizona State University, who was ranked 7th at the time. Now, who was ranked 7th at the time we played them. Now, Kansas, we lost that game. The only reason that game is significant, though, is because we lost. If we won, even if we won by 1 in triple overtime, no one would really care about that game. The reason why people care about the Kansas game is because BYU lost. So there's that. And coming back to this year, yes, we are 7-0. We have a significantly stronger schedule in front of us now than we did last year. We have to play Texas Tech at Texas Tech. Tomorrow, we have to play Iowa State at Iowa State. And we have to play Cincinnati at Cincinnati. And I don't think TCU and UCF are teams that we can just write off either. So just watch. I'm going to be wrong on the teams that we're playing. I'm pretty sure those are the teams that we're playing, but I'm going to be wrong on that, and I'm not going to edit it out. And you all can make fun of me all you want in the comments section. I'll gladly take the engagements. But this is not the most significant holy war in my lifetime, for sure. It is not the most significant holy war in the last 2 years. Last year was more important. We just laid an egg against Kansas, and that ended our season. Arizona State's loss effectively ended our season, but it began with the Kansas loss. This year, we have an opportunity to come into a better situation, but because of everything that lies in front of us, last week was not the most significant holy war ever. It sets us up to possibly generate some momentum, and we'll get to my predictions on that game a little bit later. But let's get to the rest of the league. I came up with a few segments that I'm going to do on this channel, and I'm going to focus on a few key games outside of the ranked teams. So I have three games that are really key games outside of the top 25 that I've identified. One of them happened tonight. That was Cal versus Virginia Tech. Now, one of the reasons why I think this was a key game is because Cal was a one-loss team in the ACC. Now that they've lost to Virginia Tech, they're basically out of all possible contention for the ACC championship game. Crazy things have happened. We didn't think Clemson was in the running at this point last season. So crazy things can happen still. It is the ACC, so there's a lot of parity in that league. It's still pretty much a foregone conclusion that Cal's season is done, though. And that's another reason why it was significant, is because Cal needed to win this game to continue the possibility of them going to the ACC championship alive. And they did not. My prediction for this game was that Cal was going to win 27-20. We saw how wrong I was. I have a tendency to be wrong on scores. I'm still going to make the score predictions because I got to learn somehow. But hey, newbie here. But let's get underway. So that was the third significant, in terms of ranking the significant non-ranked games, number 3 is Cal versus Virginia Tech. That's over now. Virginia Tech showed up at home and took the loss in took the win in double overtime and basically ended Cal's season. Number 2, I'm going to say, is Colorado at Utah. Now, both of these teams are not bowl eligible yet, and Colorado, that's really the only thing that they are striving to play for. Their playoff hopes are not there this year. They're done in terms of the playoffs, but they still could get a bowl game, and if they could get a win against Utah, that could help them out pretty well. And Utah is not bowl eligible yet, and they only have 2 losses in the Big 12. They still could get to the Big 12 championship game if they win out, and there's a few key losses going around everywhere else. The spread is pretty tight. It is favoring Utah, and my prediction is that Utah is going to come out on top of this game, 35-17. I don't think that the Buffaloes are as good as they have been in the last couple of years, and I think that they got some rebuilding to do. Crazier things have happened. Colorado could come up with a win. I don't think they will. And the most significant non-ranked game this week is going to be SMU at Wake Forest. SMU is currently undefeated in the ACC, and if they want to get to the ACC championship game, they have to maintain that. And my prediction is going to be that SMU wins this game 24-27. Now, on to the ranked games. I looked at 7 different games, and I tried to narrow it down to 3. I was not able to. This is a very significant week, and there are some games that I'm not considering as key games because the spread is just too wide. Like, I can't remember the game that I was thinking of, but there are several games that the spread's 28 points. I don't think that considers a key game. In order for it to be a key game, there has to be some stakes involved, and I don't think a 28-point spread involves much stakes. So, the 5th most significant ranked game this week is going to be Baylor at 21 Cincinnati. Baylor at 21st ranked Cincinnati. Cincinnati is tied with BYU in terms of being undefeated in the conference. And if Cincinnati wins out, they will go to the Big 12 championship game. I am going to give Cincinnati the win here, 35-17. 35-17. Baylor hasn't been doing as well as they had hoped that they would at the beginning of the season, and Cincinnati is going above expectations. But Cincinnati's got to win out if they want to have the best shot about getting the Big 12 championship game and getting to the playoffs. So my prediction is that Cincinnati wins this 35-17. Ranked number 4 is Texas A&M at LSU. Now, why is this only ranked number 4? Well, if Texas A&M loses this game, they only have one loss in the SEC. And if LSU wins this game, they're still kind of in the running. I don't think they keep those 2 losses. I think they're going to pick up at least 1 or 2 more losses going the rest of the season. But this is a significant game because it involves an undefeated SEC, Texas A&M, who is ranked number 3, and LSU is ranked 20. This is another key game because if LSU loses this game, they're going to be dropped out of the top 25, and their season is effectively going to be over. And if Texas A&M loses this game, their season isn't over, but they are going to have a slightly more difficult chance of getting into the SEC championship game. Very slightly. I do think Texas A&M wins this game, though, 28-17. On to game number 3. This is going to be BYU at Iowa State. I think this is a very key game because BYU is undefeated, and Iowa State is favored to win this game. I think that is not accurate. I think that Iowa State has not played up to their expectations the whole season. They barely beat Kansas State at the beginning of the game, I do not think Iowa State is the team that they have been built up to be, and I think the Cougars can handle this fairly solidly. I'm predicting that the Cougars are going to win 24-17. I do not believe Iowa State comes up with the win here. I'm not convinced of them. I don't think that BYU should go into this lightly, though. They're favored to win for a reason. I just don't see why. And there's that. BYU has to lock it in. BYU has to really, really lock it in. Kansas ruined their season last year, and they were one of the worst teams in the Big 12. So Iowa State is definitely not one of the worst teams in the Big 12. They could disrupt BYU's season really significantly with a win here. I still think BYU comes out on top 24-17. Bear Bachmeier and his crew have just overcome all adversity this whole season, and I think they can keep the magic alive. We'll see what happens when they go to Texas Tech, but I think that BYU comes up with a win here against Iowa State. Ranked number 2, the second most significant SEC. I kind of gave it away. Second most significant ranked game is a game from the SEC with 15th ranked Missouri at 10th ranked Vanderbilt. And all the sports commentators are saying, Missouri at Vanderbilt, this is a significant game? And I'm kind of in the same boat. Missouri at Vanderbilt, that's a significant game. But we're in a different college football world. I think Vanderbilt specifically has a good shot, not just to win the SEC, but to win the national championship. I think that some really, really bad mistakes are the only reasons they lost against Alabama. They just had some really, really bad turnovers, and that lost all of their momentum against Alabama. But I do think Vandy comes on top 35-21. That's a 14-point differential because I'm not convinced of Missouri's quarterback. I think he's very, very panicky in the pocket, and I think he forces a lot of things. That's just from what I've been able to see. I think Vandy handles Missouri fairly significantly, which is another reason why this is not the top-ranked game. Vanderbilt is almost certainly going to win this game, and my score prediction is 35-21, which brings us to the top-ranked game of this week. 8th ranked Ole Miss against 13th ranked Oklahoma. Both of these teams have one loss, and both of these teams are fighting for that SEC championship spot, and only one of them is going to come up a victor here. My guess is actually that Ole Miss is going to win by 10. It's going to be Ole Miss 34, Oklahoma 24. Now, a few reasons why I think this. I think quarterback injuries are significant, and I think this quarterback injury is very significant. I'm not convinced that Oklahoma's quarterback can overcome this team this time. I think Ole Miss comes up with a win 34-24 and sets them up to continue their hot streak on to possibly the SEC championship game, actually. So, what did I get wrong? What takes do you strongly disagree with? What takes do you agree with? What do you want to add? Feel free to leave any comments that you want. But that's the prep work for this upcoming week. And thank you for watching Newbie Sports.